Welcome to my twin flame video. So this could go on for hours, okay? And maybe this is something that I need to work with. In fact, I think I'm going to. Maybe next month, planting a seed will be twin flame temple and twin flame, because this is a very, very deep subject matter and quite a controversial one as well. So this video, I am just putting it out there at the beginning that this is the Gospel of Marie and this is the twin flame truth, Gospel of Marie, as I know it. This is my embodied truth because I've been married for 25 years and I've been married to what I know as my twin flame. I have two children which are 19 and 24, and my son, I've always questioned that was he my twin flame? They hold the same frequency, so we all kind of blend into one another. But the initial journey started with my husband, who I met after 5 days. He asked me to marry him. I came from England to Zimbabwe. He said, marry me. I said, yes, okay. We got married and we were 6 weeks later, we were married. Then I had a baby. I did everything back to front. You know, got married and had a baby by someone I just didn't know and moved to Africa and then thought, right, maybe it's time to get to know him now. So that's how my life rolled. That, my ladies and gentlemen, was a twin flame interaction. Now, some of you know my history. I was actually tangled up in drug addiction and meltdowns and breakdowns prior to that. And that's where my journey really, really began. I mean, it was pretty dark prior to then. It got darker, but my twin flame union happened when I actually met my husband. We just clapped eyes on each other. And then, like I say, 5 days later, he asked me to marry him. And it's just quite unusual, isn't it? Or is it though? So that was where I kind of like stepped into the realm of that. 15 years I spent living in Zimbabwe. Then all of a sudden I left and I moved to Cape Town. And my husband was supposed to come with me. Long story, he didn't. He double backed and he didn't come. Huge betrayal I felt. We still stayed married, but I ended up being in Cape Town. He stayed in Zim and we did a distance thing. We've pretty much been doing that for 10 years, right? But it's been lots of twists and turns and all the rest of it. Lots of digging deep. Let me tell you, the twin flame journey is not spectacular. It is not soulmate stuff. And when people say they glorify it, it's a very, very, very hard, powerful relationship and role to walk through, right? And this is where it gets quite controversial because sometimes we get tangled up in the twin flame romance because we're like, oh, he's my twin flame and all the rest of it. It's not. It's really, really hard. So this is why some people think that you only have one twin flame to choose from. So this is my beloved. It's a shit dysfunctional relationship. I have to stay here. No, you don't. You don't have to stay here because you're a creature of free will. And I have many people that kind of debate with me on this that like say, no, your twin flame is your twin flame. It's not, because when your twin flame walks along the path with you and they decide to change their mind, which they can, and some twin flames die and they leave. What do you mean that you're going to just sit here like an empty, broken spirit? Do you think you're not going to tap into somebody else that holds another twin flame frequency to match yours and then you can be kumbaya, happy ever after? Yeah, of course you can. And this is the thing, you know, this is what happens. We get stuck in very, very bad dysfunctional relationships with this very, very negative belief system that the twin flame that you have been paired with is the be all and end all and there is nothing else. What actually happens is there are other twin flames who are evolved as that soul that you are working with to a point. They stopped evolving. You're still good to go. And then like, you know, you're like, what now? So you can actually switch gear and then you can connect with another twin flame who has done the work and then away you go. Now this happened with Saint Germain and Portia. Portia was actually anagram mother of Jesus and Portia is actually Saint Germain's twin flame. And very good book, Twin Flame, Catherine Clement, good friend of mine. She wrote this book, short one. She was also a assistant on the Anagram Mother of Jesus books, the second one. And she wrote a great book and it was like absolutely like amazing. So I encourage you to read that. But that's the story of Saint Germain and Portia. He did not want to evolve because Saint Germain liked the earthly life and Anna, Portia, was like, there's more. And he's like, there's not. And she said, well, I'm going to go on without you, which she did. And that was that, you know. So it does go to show that twin flames can actually split and go different ways. So now let's talk about let's talk about Atlantis, right? Because Atlantis is quite prominently where the twin flames kind of vibed, right? Now, I have a lot of energy and frequency in Atlantis. I do Lemuria, but I hold a lot of energy in Atlantis, which is relevant for this lifetime I'm living now. Why? Because we are actually in the golden age of Atlantis and Aquarius now, which is why all this twin flame stuff is coming up. Gospel of Marie. Through my own channelings, through my own research, and through just living the life of the twin flame, I have decoded, because I alchemically decode everything. This is what I understand to be true. So the Atlantis, before we fell, 5D consciousness, there was a front line of twin flames that held that consciousness with their twin flame frequency through the balance of their own hearts. As a result of that, like a big outer ring, everybody else on Atlantis was able to do the same. So we were like big generators, if you like. So when we fell from grace, the dark forces were like, we need to take this place out. Yeah, but the twin flames are holding everything together. So what better way to cut out the electricity and the light? Go to the switchboard, switch it off. So they did. So there was a lot of us that sold out, jumped over to the other side. A lot of us that were manipulated and lied to, because I know that there's been past life regressions where, oh, we want to understand how the twin flame soul works. Would you mind if we dissect you for the better of humanity? Yeah, of course, no problem. So that was another way they took us out. And also as well, you know, we just got taken out, period. You know, so we hold a lot of guilt and a lot of responsibility that subconsciously in our energy field, that we really feel that we dropped the ball, but we didn't though. This is the whole thing. This is why it's so much illusion, because Atlantis was an experiment, and the higher council, like, you know, they cancelled that experiment 3, 4, 5 times. This time they were like, no, it's not working again, time to flood it, which they did, you know. And of course we took all of that on our shoulders thinking we were the ones, but no, we weren't. We were like a casualties of war, if you like. It's just, it is what it is. But somewhere in our DNA, we still hold this guilt and shame of like what it was to drop the ball, so to speak. And I know for most of my life, I have spent a lot of time trying to pay a debt that is just unpayable, because responsibility and burden has been a very, very big shadow side of my work, where I don't have enough joy in my life, or I didn't, because everything was just like, you know, for the cause, you know what I mean? And that bleeds through from this past life I'm talking about. And like I say, we are in the golden age of Atlantis now, so we've done full circle. And this is why all of this stuff's coming up. So now I'm going to flick over, because like I say, this subject matter is deep and I could probably do 10 hours on this, but let's like now move on to this life, because all of my work that I do is all about the Heka code. So Heka is magic and medicine. It's the alchemical formula of intention plus action equals creation. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because it dovetails beautifully with the gods and goddesses. So I am not here to worship gods and goddesses. I am here to embody their ascended mastery, to activate my own, so I can come into the oneness wisdom and I can be the I am presence, right? That's the ultimate of why we're doing all of this. So the gods and goddesses are not here to be worshipped. They are here to assist us in coming into the realization, self-realization that we are one, right? So now each god and goddess has what I call a CV, an ascended mastery. So you have Thoth, the god of alchemy. He's he's all about the teachers. He's about symbology, sacred architecture, the Akashic records, and so on and so forth. Then you have Isis, who's all about spell work. You know, she's a midwife. You know, and it's all about unconditional love and all of those things. So they all have a CV, ascended mastery. So the reason for that is because each god and goddess we work with, we spend a lot of time with them and we learn from them to awaken those aspects within us. Right? Once we have done that, then we move on to the next realm, and this is what the tree of life, the Kabbalah tree of life is all about. We get to go up the steps one by one until we know ourselves as Ra, one supreme God, which means we're the I am presence. So that's why the gods and goddesses are around. So now let's go back to the twin flame frequency and the balance of the divine masculine feminine frequency. I'm going to talk about Isis and Osiris first of all, because we know that their life displayed the whole twin flame counterpart thing. Every single god and goddess in any pantheon, right? There is a masculine and a feminine to it all. And in fact, there's a masculine and a feminine, and there's a creative point. So it creates the triangle. But let's go back to the two first of all. Osiris and Isis. We have Nephthys and we have Set. We have Thoth and Ma'at, or Seshat, whichever way you want to say. We have Sekhmet and Ptah. Everything is opposing forces, and everything is divine masculine and feminine, just there is an opposing force a balance in you. So this is also goes into the 7 Hermetic principles. One of the principles is the principle of gender, not a physical thing, a gender thing. It is an energy thing, right? So we have to have those balancing forces within us. That's the twin flame frequency. So in comes Isis and in comes Osiris. Osiris's story is that he was cut into 14 pieces and scattered all over by his jealous brother Set. Isis then remembers Osiris to bring him back into wholeness, right? The balance. Ma'at is always around us, right? It's all about the sacred order and balance. We are the same, okay? Sacred order and balance. So through the teachings of the gods and goddesses, they guide us to bring this twin flame frequency into balance, right? So now Isis, Osiris, they're now balanced, twin flame union, everything's tickety-boo. As a result of that, then there is a creation, and that was Horus, okay? So the same with Set and Nephthys, they had Anubis. And this is where the Vesica Pisces come in, where there is 1, there is 2, then there is 3, the little bit in between. So 1, 2, and 3, that's the yoni. That's where creation comes through. So we have man, we have woman or masculine, feminine, and then we have the yoni of creation. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3, 2, 1. It's the order. I mean, it's really quite like, whoa, okay. So when we look at things like that, it makes our understanding of our twin flame process, understanding it more than just going, I'm looking for the one that completes me. There is no one out there that you should be seeking that is going to make you feel more wholesome. If you are going to be searching for another who's going to complete you, then you're going to be forever searching, because it's not out there, it's in here. So this is me just sharing the bigger picture of what we're here for and why. Once you create that balance in your life, right, and everything comes into a harmonious state of equilibrium, as it were, then then creation happens. So Heka, which is the magic and medicine that I work with, the Heka codes, mentorship, the sessions, whatever, even when I go on tour to Egypt and Avalon, I am constantly working with this energy concept all the time, because we need to understand that the balance has to be attained within. And the way we do that is by looking at the relationships outside of us that reflect back to us where our shadow is. If we can stop blaming, saying, you did that to me, and get angry, and we come away from all of that, because that's just going to keep you on one place. If we can come away from that, here comes another helicopter. Love it. So busy on the Thames here in London. But if we can come away from that blaming externally, all the human stuff, and we really take responsibility to what's going on outside, as I say, husband, girlfriend, wife, whatever, any relationships, well, they're not supporting me, they're not listening to me. Where are you not listening to yourself? Where are you not supporting yourself? If you can kind of use that as a mirror to come in here and sit with that, then that will really bring deep depths of healing within. And that is how we come into that wholeness. You can't do it any other way. So as you understand, I get very passionate about this, because as there's such a lot of people still out there believing that they're so focused on their twin flame, they're so focused that he is out there for me or she is out there for me, then you're not going to get the fullness of the experience. And if you come into that internal balance and you see everything as a mirror and your twin flame hasn't turned up yet, well, guess what? They're gonna, once you've done this, because you vibrate at a certain frequency, right? So that is what happens. So you come in here, you create your balance, your twin flame frequency is like a Batman sign in the sky. Another twin flame who's as evolved as you is going to go, there he is, there she is, and they're going to just find you. How do you think I met my husband in the days where there was no cell phones? I'm telling you how old I am now. And I'm a hot mess, drug addict, because I was a very messed up starseed. And I get an offer to go to Africa just cause, no cell phones involved. I pitch up to Africa. The guy who picks us up from the airport is the son of the people we're staying with. And 5 days later, he asked me to marry him. How did that happen? If you can't trust in the divine timing of that story I shared with you, like, you don't need social media, you don't need dating apps. In fact, that stuff needs to actually go, because that's what's blocking you. You got to come into your internal frequency and really just calm down to a gallop and just understand and embody like the process of what I'm speaking about, because they will find you. They will find you. You will find them. It's impossible not to. You have a GPS already built into you, and it's all set in the stars. So this is where the twin flame understanding is very, very powerful. So now we've spoken about twin flames Atlantis. We've spoken about the responsibility from Atlantis. You know, do you carry your mission as a burden? Do you, are you a space holder, a teacher? Do you maybe feel that you're a space holder and a teacher and you just can't seem to get out the floodgates? Well, there might be a big dollop of guilt there, or something that's holding you back in a very, very fearful place, because you, trust me, I know, because before I started teaching and everything like that, I tried for many years and I had paralysis. I was so fearful, yet my purpose was firing up. When I say paralysis wasn't the word, I couldn't even flex a brain muscle to think, to move forward, because I was so like, you know, and that's the struggles I've been through. Like, and I still do to this day, not the paralysis because I'm getting going now, but like, you know, it's real and I understand it and I know how to get through it because I've done it myself, right? So this is the thing. So we need as many of us on board now holding the light in a leadership role, because we are now going through a profound shift in the world. Sekhmet is calling these twin flames up because, let's face it, those that want to grab that, we got it. You've got it. Everybody is a twin flame. Not everybody has been set up to lead in the way that we do, because it's quite heavy shit. Not everybody signed up for that. But there are other twin flames in other areas who are here just to find one another, love each other in a balanced, beautiful way, and just put that out in the world. And I'm finding the twin flames that are about the age of early 20s and probably between 20 and 25, those ones there are just doing it pure. Because we put the groundwork in. I find those that are late 30s and that's still a little bit searching, still a little bit complex, like me. And then there's the older ones, which are like, I'm 49, nearly 50. Like, we were the ones that basically got the hard yards, as it were. So there are different versions of twin flames, and we all have different roles to bring in the balance. We've all got different versions of that. So if you feel that you are a leader, that means you're part of my tribe, man. You know what I mean? That means, that's why I do the Egypt tours. That's why we got to go to Egypt to work with Sekhmet. That's why, you know, we do Avalon. That's why we do the Heka codes and everything like that, because we need all hands on deck. So if you were a leader back then, you most certainly are now, and we need that. We need that guidance. You need to be doing things like I'm doing and just, you know, shining the light. And the more of us, the better. So now let's go to the mirrors. So the mirrors, look into those mirrors deeply. Yes, they stink. Yes, they piss you off. Yes, you want to just run your mouth. I'm saying this because this is what I've done. Yes, you want to throat punch. You know what I mean? But once you take a moment and step back and calm down, and you start to realize how this is my mirror. I am reflecting all the time. I'm reflecting. It's like I'm putting energy out all the time. So if I've called that person in and my relationships are showing me a tone here, what am I going to do? What am I going to look at? Right? It's in here. You need to sit with that and be shown, and then call in Nephthys, call in Isis, call in Sekhmet, and they will show you where to go with it, right? So now, if you change your relationship, this is another thing as well, right? If you change your relationship, right? There's two things here, so don't get it twisted. We mustn't stay in dysfunctional relationships. When they die, they die. And that is now, your lessons are done, time to move on. Because there's the problem with the twin flames. There's a lot of us that basically sit in this like dysfunctional relationships thinking, no, we need to stick with it because they're my twin flame. No, that's a fallacy, because there are other twin flames that are very evolved. Twin flames change their mind. Some of them die and leave. And then you're sat here scratching yourself. What, are you meant to just sit here and just be heartbroken? No, there's another twin flame who probably has lost their twin flame. There's other frequencies that can connect. So you might find another one who's evolved with you. Everything is free will, right? But also as well, there are relationships that will just upgrade and upgrade and upgrade. And that's what I find in my marriage. Every time I think, oh my God, this is it, it explodes into the next level of it. But then there's relationships which are very abusive, you know, or narcissistic or whatever. And that twin is basically, you know, like just what have they taught you? They've shown you lies and deceit and betrayal. How much do you want to swallow of that? You know, your air of discernment, you call it when you're ready to release that relationship. Because how much do you want to be a martyr? How much do you need to know? So the sooner you do your lessons when they're like, oh, they betrayed me, let's go in deep. Then it's God's will you're not supposed to know. It's God's will whether you're supposed to stay together or not. Do you know what I mean? So we don't stick around in abusive relationships just because we call them twin flames. We understand what the bigger picture is here. And remember, we do that by understanding that the mirror is to help me evolve and come into my own divine balance. When you've got the message, then you get out. Do you know what I mean? If it's abusive, right? We don't stick around because it's like, you know, for the mission. No, we don't do that. So that is discernment. That is for you to decide. And some relationships are great and some relationships you need to walk away from, you know? So now, what I always find when I'm on this twin flame mission, I actually did a twin flame toolbox, right? Because it got so intense, gosh, 8 years ago, that I was like, oh my God, didn't know what to do, you know? And I created this twin flame toolbox. One of the biggest tools on there was about calling spirit to say, please take me to my highest timeline so I can see. And that's exactly what I did. I took myself to the highest timeline so I could have vision eyes looking down. Do you know how quickly I was able to transform my relationship into the next level? Had I stayed on the human level and tried to fix it with all these lower vibrational problems, I would be in marriage counseling. We'd probably be divorced by now. But I went up to the highest timeline to look down, and that's what I was shown is like, okay, we got you know, Horus eyes here, bird's eye view. I can view from above to below and actually see what energetically needs to be done here so I can correct the frequency. And it took me out of the emotion. So that's a very, very powerful thing to do, because remember, when we are here, there are several dimensions all going off all at the same time. There's so many different versions of you and your relationship. So if it's shitty, there's a version here, you're on the shitty floor, okay? So you want to get in that elevator and go, can you please take me to floor maybe number 8 or 9 and go up to there, because there'll be a different version of your relationship once again. And maybe it's betrayal and it's not so great. Maybe you want to say, right, take me up to a different dimension, please, of where it's harmonious, I'm blessed, they're blessed, everything is sweet. You know what I mean? And there's also as well, this is where you have to be very free and open, because a lot of twin flames, they do this work. By the time they've come into union, they don't actually need a significant other because they choose not to have one, and that's okay. Doesn't mean that they're not a twin flame. Yes, they are, but they choose not to be in because they're very happy. They're like, actually, I'm really peaceful. So it becomes a sacred choice whether you want to share yourself with another or not. There's no rules, right? There really isn't any rules, you know? And that's the beautiful thing about it, you know what I mean? Because if we keep going back to here, it's not about the relationships as such. It's about the relationship with you. You're the beloved that you seek, right? So then everything else is sweets and gravy, okay? So now, what else have we got here? Okay, so, yeah. That's it. I've covered everything. It's just like I can't read my own writing. So that's it, basically. That's a very kind of like, you know, basic introduction to the twin flame gospel of Marie. And, you know, and it's to understand your role, you know, which is to come into balance. So how you do that, you're the master of your own ship, right? But I really just want to just clarify and surmise now that if a twin flame doesn't evolve and they don't carry on, then you have free will to choose another and you will connect. And also as well, know that twin flames do, when they come together and they create, badass. It's so badass, but you don't have to be sexually intimate with another twin flame. I can work with another woman and she's a twin flame and we could do a project together and it is going to be next level because our twin frequencies unite, and that inner balance comes together. We create massive projects together and it's amazing. But then also intimately can also be amazing. But either way, these relationships are here to teach us, to show us. And the way that we understand that, embody that, is through the gods and goddesses, and we ask them to show us the embodiment process through their own stories, through their own teachings, right? Ptah, creation, Sekhmet, destroy. So let's work with that until we can come into balance. Isis, love, unconditional love, the love for Osiris, dismembering, remembering, soul retrieval. Let's work with that. You see, there's so much magic and medicine in the gods and goddesses instead of just having them on their altar and going 10 Hail Marys. You know what I mean? So this is the Gospel of Marie, twin flame. And this is very much in the eclipse energy and very much in the September energy. So I hope that this has helped. And I think next month I'm going to be doing a twin flame temple gathering, you know, because next month is Osiris and Isis. So let's keep the magic flowing, and thank you for watching. Peace.